2015 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sahara. Rear brake pads and rotors. What you need to do is jack it up and support it properly. But you want to make sure that you got your wheel lock key, because most of them do. So you can remove that. So you want to remove your tires. Got to jack it up and support properly. Remove the tires with a 19mm socket. And then you want to do is remove your caliper. Caliper's right here, and it's held on by two 13mm head caliper bolts. One here and one here. This is what they look like, okay? Then you can go ahead and remove your caliper. Caliper's a little tight, so you have to get a flat blade screwdriver. They're always all rusty, you know? I ain't going. Let's see. Pull out a little bit. I gotta get a screwdriver, flat blade. Okay, I took a flat blade screwdriver and pried the caliper off. And now you want to do is look at your piston, make sure it's not cracked, or look at your seal, make sure it's not torn, or any fluid coming out. Okay, and it looks pretty decent. So move on to the next step. Next thing we want to do is remove the caliper bracket. And that's held on by two, anyway, one here and one there. And those are 18mm. So what you do is you get your 18mm wrench or a breaker bar with a shallow socket. I'll put my wrench on there. I'll hold my wrench and then I'll smack it with a hammer, push it up. Then I'll break it loose. Do that a couple times and then I'll get a 18mm ratchet wrench and I'll take the bolts out. Here's your caliper bracket bolts. Here's your caliper bracket. What you want to do is make sure your slide pins are free. If they're frozen, then you should replace the caliper bracket and the caliper with some remans. All right. So this is where I'm at right now on the other side. This is the driver's side. See, this one's free. This one's all frozen and rusted. So I'm going to replace both rear calipers and brackets. Okay, if all yours are good, then you need to remove the hardware. That's the little clips under there. Baby, they're rusted in there. Hold on. Remove the abundant clips, which I call hardware. There's 4 of them. And then clean up that surface inside there with a die grinder with a sandpaper on it. And I go in there on an angle and clean it up. Okay. And then I'll pull out my slide pins and I'll clean them up and I'll put some Seal Glide on them and stick them back in. Do not pack this with Seal Glide. You won't be able to push the slide pins in. All right. I'm telling you all this because I'm not going to be doing it to my remans because they're already clean. All right. So I'm just letting you know how to do it. So the next thing you need to do is to get your hammer. This has got parking brake shoes on the inside, so sometimes they don't come off. So there's a lot of corrosion around here from the aluminum rims. So hammer. Pretty well broke loose. Let's see if it, yeah, it ain't broke loose at all. All right. I'm replacing the rotors so I can hit the surface. There. Now, work it back and forth. Okay. Here it comes. See? All right. Okay, drums off. And you see this? Nasty. Pretty well equal. I don't know. Maybe I just wire brush it and clean it up instead of sit there and die grind it. The other side, the same way. I'll just wire brush it, clean it up. There's no high spots on it, so I'm good. So, then get yourself some lube, spray it on your parking brake stuff, the linkage of your parking brakes. These are all rusted up. I never ever use them. But okay. All right. Okay. I'm replacing both side calipers, so if you're not replacing them, then you need to push your piston in. Use a C-clamp and an old pad and push it in, or a big pair of channel locks. All right. So next, I guess, would be to put some anti-seize on your axle hubs. Get your rotor on there and clean off the rotor. Some soap and water, get the shipping oil off, and get your bracket and put your bracket on there. Usually after I clean these up, I'll paint them, and then I'll put my bracket on there, and then I'll have my new clips installed, and then you can put your brake pads in. So 2 sizes on the rotors. Measure from here to there. This one measures 12.5, which is 316 millimeter. These are the small rotors. Okay, here's my new reman caliper bracket. Just imagine this is yours if you're not replacing them. Got it all cleaned up. Then you want to go ahead and spray the areas where those clips go with some black paint. And then go ahead and clean off your slide pins. Put some Seal Glide on them. Push it in there. Twist them as you push it in there. Make sure you get some on the boot. And like I said, do not pack it full of Seal Glide. Okay, when the paint dries, then you go ahead and put your the hardware, your bundle clips, onto your bracket. All right, now put your bundle clips hardware on there. Make sure they're in there nice and flat. Sometimes I have to use a flat blade screwdriver, a pocket one, and stick it inside there and pull them down. All right, so this one's all set to go. I got some new Seal Glide on the slide pins, and it's all cleaned up. Got the caliper bracket in there, got the bolts snugged up, and then you're going to torque them to 55 foot-pounds, okay? Then after you get done doing that, and you get your brake pads over here, and you put them in an angle like that. Get them started, and then boom. Get the pad in there like that. And just twist it. Push them in there. Do the same thing with the inner one. The inner one's got squeak indicators on them, but they're on both sides. One's supposed to go on, they're supposed to be on the bottom on both sides, towards the rotation of the rotor, you know? But have them be on that way. Otherwise, that's it. So go ahead, put them in there at an angle. Yeah. Sometimes you need a little light to get in there to see what you're doing. All right, pads are in. Now, if you're gonna reuse your old caliper and you got the piston pushed in, then you can go ahead and put your caliper down here and get it on there. And then get your slide caliper bolts in, and then you want to torque your caliper bolts to 26 foot-pounds. But me, I'm replacing them, so bleeder goes on the upside. So put the caliper in there. Okay, then I'll get my bolts, put my bolts in and torque them to 26 foot-pounds. All right, get my bolts tightened to 26 foot-pounds. I removed my bleeder, and I put some anti-seize on the threads, and I got it almost all the way in there. Leave it loose a little bit to help bleed it. So now I'm replacing the caliper, so I need to pinch off my hose and then remove my banjo bolt. That's the one that holds the line on, the banjo bolt. And this one happens to be a 15 or a 5/8, so I have to see. I put my needle nose vice grips on there just enough to restrict the flow of the fluid. I don't have it bear down on it. And here's my caliper. And it was a 15 millimeters, so now I can go ahead and drain the fluid that's left in here and use it for my core. They gave me a new banjo bolt, so make sure there's no washers left on the hose block. And you use some new copper washers on the bolt, one on the outside and one on the inside. And go ahead and get it onto your caliper and get it started and thread it in there and snug it up. And then we'll have to torque it. All right, now all you need to do is tighten up your banjo bolt. They're calling for 35 foot-pounds. Just beware of that, okay? I tighten them up. I tighten them up pretty good, but I don't bear down on them, but I got them tight. All right? So then you remove your vice grips and make sure your bleeder is loose a little bit. What you're going to do is you're going to keep an eye on the ground when you're doing the other side of your brakes, and then see when it starts dripping. Mine's dripping already, so what I'm going to do is smack it with a hammer. Vibration helps get the air out from around the piston. Okay. So now I'm going to just go ahead and close it off. And I know I got all the air out of it. I know the banjo was a new 11 and this is a 10, so just snug it up. All right, so when I get the other side done, because I'm doing both side calipers, I'll lower it down and I'll pump up the brake pedal and make sure and get all those pistons moved out. So that way, if there's any air stuck inside around that piston, it'll come up. And I'll go ahead and tap it again, and then I'll open up the bleeder and I'll make sure that I don't see no more air coming out. And then I'll snug up my bleeder and put my little rubber cap back on. So I'm gonna go do the other side and we'll go from there. Okay, here we are on the driver's side. Anti-seize on my axle, my washed rotor, so I'm gonna put it on. Got my new caliper bracket, painted. Hardware clips are on there. A little bit more sill glider around my pins. I'm gonna mount it, and I'm gonna torque it to what, 55? Got your pads in, got your caliper on, got your caliper bolts in, got them snugged up, got them torqued 25, 26 foot-pounds. Got my bleeder, took it out, put some anti-seize on it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put my vice grips on my hose, remove my banjo bolt, get my new banjo bolt with my new copper washers, and make sure the old ones aren't stuck to the hose block. Okay, my banjo bolt is tight. Remove my needle nose and wait for it to start bleeding. And while it's doing that, remember, go ahead and tap it. Anything coming out yet? Nothing. Maybe it's too closed. We'll open it up a little bit more. It's getting wet. Okay. Nothing dripping yet. Sometimes they need to be hit the brake pedal a little bit to get it going. Nothing there yet. Sometimes you have to go inside and push the brake pedal to the floor. So you open up the door and get a long screwdriver and push on the pedal. And that'll start it, get it started going. So I think that's what I gotta do. All right. Dripping now. See it? Okay, now I'm gonna snug it up. And then I'll open the door and push the pedal to the floor a couple times with my big pry bar, and then I'll go re-bleed them. All right, I bled it. All right, pump the pedal to the floor a couple times. Let's see if we get any air out. Well, fluid's coming. I can't see my caliper. Getting plenty of fluid out now. I'm gonna go ahead and snug this one up. Call this one good. All right, see if I can get any air bubbles. Well, no air bubbles. It's all going good. Yep, just dripping. All right, so now I'll go ahead and snug it up. All right. Put my little clipper on it, cap, and that's it. So I'm pretty much done. So all I gotta do now is go ahead and put my tires on, put my lug nuts on, and torque my lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, and that's it. And then all I gotta do is lower it down, go inside the vehicle, start it, push the pedal to the floor a couple times, check to see how good my pedal is. If the pedal is nice and high and firm, then I'm done. But if it's spongy, then I'll have to come back here and re-bleed them again. I'm pretty confident that it's good. So I'm gonna put it back together. And then after you get it all back together yourself, you wanna go in there and double check your brake fluid reservoir and check the fluid on, right? So hopefully I helped you out with this brake job and these calipers. That'd be awesome. And then just wanna thank you. And hopefully you can give me a subscribe to me. Thank you.